Schools resume in Cameroon after close to 3 months of interruption that was triggered by the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic. The educative community stages an impressive mobilization nationwide to ensure a smooth and effective takeoff of classes for this special back to school, especially for examination classes. Cameroon's First Lady, Madame Chantal Biya, clocks 5 as UNAIDS Special Ambassador, a designation that confers on the Cameroonian First Lady a vanguard position in the fight against HIV/AIDS. Those are our top stories. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Benn, MENO PUFONG, and this is the 7:30 News. Thanks for joining us, but before we kick off proper, have this kicker.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
It was back to school day in Cameroon today after close to 3 months of COVID-19 imposed interruption. Here in the nation's capital, classes effectively kicked off in the primary, secondary and higher education sectors, whether at the government bilingual practicing high school, Lycée Général Leclerc, or private secondary schools. Our reporter observed that in addition to school uniforms, the wearing of face masks and washing of hands before entering classrooms cut across all the schools. Yoti Kaleli Songe recounts the one of school for upper 6 students and terminal students.
Held up at an inspection to ensure no atom of the coronavirus crawls in. Not even a pretty face is charming enough to escape.
Put your mask wearing on your nose. Those who don't have masks, we have available masks for them enough.
A change in behavior is of utmost importance to drum out the coronavirus at school.
You, look at this line here, stand there while holding your books.
Contact should be minimized. So, picture a scenario where the teacher is in front of the students. The first row of desks should be at least 2.5 to 3 meters away from the teacher. The teacher is not supposed to circulate within the iris.
Whether at a government bilingual practicing high school in Yaoundé or Lycée Général Leclerc, each student must comply to the COVID-19 rules and regulations. Those in private secondary schools are equally on alert.
We have to put the masks and to respect the social distanciation and to use the hydroalcoholics gels, and we have to wash our hands.
And the school authorities have taken the necessary measures to assure their safety.
In our computer lab, the wearing of gloves is compulsory because the virus can easily contaminate other students there. And we have enough water, and all the measures have been taken to curb the spread of that virus in our school.
In another college, the ambience is similar. There are not more than 24 students in one classroom.
First, we will do catch-up classes and then intensify our teaching so that the students are well prepared to write exams.
After class, the drill is well known. Until Thursday, the school gates are open only to students in upper seat or terminal.
Measures to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic were also observed to the letter in schools as class 6 in students in primary school, as well as Cool Moyenne pupils resumed classes today. Today's lectures were essentially devoted to the revision of previous lessons in a bid to enable the learners catch up with studies from where they broke off. Romeo Kenyi toured some primary schools in Yaoundé this Monday and now paints a picture of the special back to school.
The hoisting of the flag this Monday morning at Central Government English Primary School Yaoundé set the pace of the special school resumption day for Class 6 pupils. In the midst of the current health crisis, school authorities say all necessary measures have been taken to contain the spread of the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic.
The buckets are there with water and savon for children to wash their hands before they get into their classrooms. And the measures are there. We have 24 children per class.
I'm expecting 44 pupils, and I've subdivided them into 2 classrooms, 22 per class.
It is equally a cheerful school resumption of classes for most learners, the majority of them accompanied by their parents.
Giving them the cashmere and accompany them in school myself, and seeing in taxi the spaces they get to take, 1 meter. Even in class, I've come to see whether the teachers have taken the measures for them.
In classrooms, it is 1 person per bench.
Dad, let me always wash my hands with soap and water, and also put gel hydroalcoholic.
On this first day, lessons at École Publique Messa and École Privée Adventiste are all based on revision for CM2 pupils. This to enable them catch up from where they ended before the program was interrupted by the coronavirus.
The Secretary of State in the Ministry of Basic Education was out in some primary schools in the nation's capital to ascertain the effectiveness of the resumption of classes and the degree of implementation of the anti-COVID-19 barrier measures. Alice Bay accompanied Dr. Ashire Kilo on the tour and now reports.
The first thing the Secretary of State in the Ministry of Basic Education, Dr. Ashire Kilo, looked out for at Government English Primary School Etukebe was the installation of hand-washing points. Seemingly satisfied at what she saw, she headed for the classrooms. Here, emphasis was laid on the respect of social distancing and the wearing of face masks by teachers and pupils.
We know that our children would be the most vulnerable given their ages. That is why we have insisted on the spacing of the children in the classrooms. I've personally gone through all the classrooms and I'm impressed because it is a child per desk, so the children are comfortably seated. I have also explained to the teachers that at each time when they have recess, they should ensure that before the kids come back into class, they wash their hands again.
It begins with educating people on what to do once at school.
When we came to school, the teachers asked us to wash our hands. They gave us sanitizers to rub our hands. They said we should not touch our friends.
With the threats of the coronavirus, the teachers in these schools say they are out for results.
We did respect the social distancing. Before entering their various classes, we have buckets that the children wash their hands there. They have sanitizers.
The Secretary of State in the Ministry of Basic Education has studied the efforts of UNICEF in providing sanitary kits while hailing the school administration for their proper use.
On a similar note, Secondary Education Minister Professor Nalova Lyonga has expressed satisfaction with the quality anti-COVID-19 measures put in place by secondary schools in Yaoundé and the impressive turnout of students and teachers on day 1 of school resumption. Professor Nalova Lyonga was speaking today while on a tour of some secondary schools in the nation's capital to evaluate the effectiveness of the kickoff. As Baldwin Sama reports, the minister was accompanied by the governor of the Central Region, Nasiri Paul Bear.
Minister Nalova Lyonga's first stop was at Government Bilingual High School Esos, where she met with opposite students in their classrooms with physical distancing respected. Here, she encouraged the students to be hardworking as she was shown measures put in place by officials of this school to stem the spread of COVID-19. At Collège Jean Tabi, similar impressive measures have been put in place to avoid contamination as she was shown around the campus with 2 sick students put at the disposal of this school.
The 2 students who have a slight temperature in Jean Tabi. Now, congratulations to the parents who have been able to confide their students to the school authorities. They themselves said, my child has been sick for 4 days, but we have been treating her.
Minister Nalova Lyonga expressed satisfaction with security measures installed at Lycée Leclerc to check the wearing of face masks at the entrance and the security of the students.
Because I have seen the quality of security cameras that they have put in the various institutions. You can see as far as possible and as clearly as you want it. I can sit in my office and see every institution that I want to see by the time they would have finished.
From Collège Vogt passing through Government Technical High School in Colbison, students and teachers were present on day 1 of classes with teaching that was effective.
Everywhere where we have gone, the teachers are there, the principals are there. And I think that what you have seen the innovations. I think I am more interested in the innovations.
A similar evaluation tour is expected at the end of this week.
Higher Education Minister Professor Jacques Famundongo has also expressed satisfaction with the resumption of classes in higher institutions of learning in Yaoundé and has called on the various heads of the institutions to maintain the steam and enthusiasm. Professor Jacques Famundongo was speaking in Yaoundé during a visit to some higher educational institutions. Lumaslim Davis was in the minister's trail and brought back this report.
The resumption of classes for higher institution students in examination classes was effective. The Minister of State, Minister of Higher Education, Jacques Famundongo, made rounds in several institutions to see for himself and make assessments.
I am very delighted by what I have seen in the public and private universities. I have seen the respect of distancing, the respect of all the what OMS and the head of state have prescribed about the health security. We have seen health security everywhere, and we also have seen the implementation of insurance quality in all the universities.
Barrier measures against the coronavirus pandemic could be noticed as the students were either receiving lectures or engaged in academic defense amongst other activities.
I've told to the rectors and the vice chancellors to go on, to continue in this way, which is the way of excellence, the health security, because it is very important for our dear and beloved country, Cameroon. But they must be very responsible. They must respect the prescriptions of the head of state, of OMS, of the rectors, of the vice chancellors. They must respect the measures which are implementing the health security in all the campuses. And I know that they will respect them.
The visit gave Jacques Famundongo an opportunity to acquaint himself closely with the functions of the various departments of the institutions.
Classes have effectively begun in basic, secondary and higher education institutions in the littoral region in strict respect of the anti-COVID measures. In the University of Douala, resumption was marked by the inauguration of the National Advanced School of Engineering. Littoral Governor Samuel Diodene Ivahadiboa, who chaired the inauguration, also visited some primary and secondary schools in the economic capital. Alphonse Abongwa tells us more from Douala.
The last time they were in their classrooms, their faces had no masks and classroom sizes were never this few. COVID-19 has imposed new habits for this last term of the academic year, from basic and secondary schools in Douala 3 through Douala 2, 1, 4 and 5, where the littoral governor crisscrossed this Monday. Measures have largely been respected.
I'm satisfied for what I have seen. Everywhere we have passed, we have seen that all the school children are wearing masks, and also the teachers are in the same posture.
Preliminary lessons in some of the schools centered on the pandemic of the year.
To prevent corona, what do you do?
Each school has its specificities in the face of the pandemic.
We put it in position, disinfection at the entrance, and before you access the campus, we have the thermoflash to test the temperature.
At the higher education level, the University of Douala resumes in Grand Star with the inauguration of the Advanced School of Engineering of the institution, a school administrators say has come to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor.
There's no way to think that we have a university for people that are rich and the other one for people that are poor, but they want here to help the poor people.
The former Faculty of Civil Engineering was upgraded to a School of Engineering by presidential decree on May 11, 2020 to meet the changing exigencies of the job market.
It is on a similar effective note that classes resumed in the Southwest Regional Capital, with pupils and students respecting the government anti-COVID-19 prescriptions. Governor Benn visited some schools in Boya and expressed satisfaction at the smooth takeoff. Ndike Enoanyang reports from Boya.
It is an unusual atmosphere at the Baptist High School in Boya, where the economic students of opposite arts are attending lectures wearing their face mask and spaced in a distinct manner. A similar scenario at the Government High School Boya Town, with posters bearing preventive measures to sensitize the students on ways to curb the spread of COVID-19.
We have provided the thermometer kits where their temperatures are taken as they get into the campus. Nobody comes inside the campus without putting on a face mask. We have made sure that we have buckets containing water for the students to wash their hands regularly.
Southwest Governor, after visiting some of these schools, says he is satisfied with the measures put in place.
The schools are effectively opened, respecting the distance put in place. They are wearing their mask in all the entrances of classrooms. You have bucket and water for children to wash their hands with soap.
Governor Bernard Okala-Belai has called on parents to encourage their children to respect all measures put in place in order to stay safe.
The governor of the Far North region has expressed satisfaction with the turnout in schools in Marwa amidst stringent measures against the COVID-19 pandemic. Mijiawa Bakari made the appraisal today in Marwa after visiting some schools to take the polls of the back to school today. Sylvester Temkeng is in Marwa.
At the College Jean de Benn, Governor Mijiawa Bakari observed that hand-washing stations have been set up in line with government's prescription. Same scenario at College Sabil, Lycée Classique, GBHS Domayo, among others, where the governor emphasized on the need to respect safety tips in the school milieu as learners and teachers settle down. Meanwhile, at the Kongola neighborhood harbor of the University of Marwa, Professor Idrisu Alioum showed the governor around the campus, where each amphitheater contains just 200 instead of 500 students.
Social distancing is absolutely respected, and that's why, as far as our amphitheaters, let's say for instance, are concerned, 200 at most, the amphitheater of 500.
In a region where about 50 cases of COVID-19 have been recorded, the Chief Executive Officer of the Far North region is upbeat that adequate measures have been taken to bar the way to COVID-19 in school campuses.
School is effective, and the barrier measure is also there. It is an opportunity given by the head of state to continue school.
Within the context of progressive resumption of classes, more final year students are expected to join their peers.
Let's now take you over to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center to have the latest information on the fight against the COVID pandemic in Cameroon as it is going. And our reporter posted out there is Gilbert Ongene. Hello, Gilbert. Tell us, what is the latest from your center tonight?
Hello, Benn, MENO, PUFONG. Welcome to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. And as you rightly said, there are 254 new cases of infection to the coronavirus today in Cameroon. This brings the total number of the cases of the coronavirus in Cameroon to 6,397. And of course, we have 51 recoveries today and 2 deaths in the country. And this is an indication that the respect of the barrier measures in Cameroon have to be accentuated or have to increase, and Cameroonians have to be more vigilant, especially as school resumptions took place today. Our guest tonight is Dr. Simon Nuji, who is, of course, the head of the sensitization unit here at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Good evening, Doc.
Evening.
Now, the pupils, students, and teachers resume school today, and we're talking about the respiratory hygiene. Tell us, what word of advice you have for these persons who, of course, will be involved in school resumption throughout these months?
Okay, the first thing that we want to tell is that the wearing of a mask is obligatory for all the students and all the staff in the school. That is very, very obligatory. So every people in the school should wear a mask.
Now, if the student or the teachers or the pupils have to sneeze or cough, or they notice that one of theirs or one of the students or the teachers is having cough or sneezing, what attitude should they adopt?
Okay, the first thing that the people should take is to call the 5010 number, or if they can call a health professional who will tell them the things that they should do.
Okay, we know that due to the special measures that have been taken owing to the presence of the coronavirus in our midst, there are no canteens or food shelves or food stalls in our schools. Now, during break, the children are supposed to bring their food on campus. How should they spend the break period? How should they eat?
Okay. You know, with this crisis, we don't want that a lot of students go outside the classroom. So we recommend that the student can take the breakfast in the classroom or under the supervision of the staff.
Okay, with respect of physical distancing,
all the barrier measures should be respected by the student and the staff in the school.
Thank you very much indeed, Simon Nuji, who is, of course, the head of the sensitization unit here at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Ben, the take-home message is that we have 254 new cases of infection to the coronavirus in Cameroon today, 51 recoveries and 2 deaths. So vigilance, stay safe, go out when it's very necessary. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you very much, Gilbert Ongene, and your guest out there for those inputs. And we continue now with the news, this time still talking back to school. In the North region, the Senior Divisional Officer for the Benn, Umaru Haman Wabi, and the Regional Delegate of Basic and Secondary Education have expressed satisfaction with the turnout of pupils and students, as well as the scrupulous respect of the preventive measures against COVID-19. Wilson Mengale has more on that story from CRTV North.
At Government Bilingual High School Karwa, the mathematics teacher gave the lesson of the day to students who pay keen attention after more than 2 months of break. According to school officials, the resumption this 1st of June is hitch-free.
We have taken all measures in order to secure our students We have noticed also teachers and students responded favorably. They wear their mask. Hands washing are available. Social distancing are also respected.
Similar atmosphere in other public and private higher institutions of learning as observed by the Senior Divisional Officer of the Benue, Umaru Haman Wabi, and the delegates of basic and secondary education who made a tour of different institutions in Karua to ensure the smooth resumption of classes for baccalaureate students of the French subsystem of education and Form 5 and opposite for the English subsystem of education.
Classes are effectively resumed. Teacher and student are there. Barrier measures are respected.
The school reopening is effective, and we are fighting against coronavirus, and you will see that everything is okay.
The hope of officials in the North region is for schools to continue and end smoothly this year in a healthy environment.
On a similar note, schools have resumed in a calm and serene atmosphere in the Adamawa region, with anti-COVID measures being respected rather scrupulously. Adamawa Regional Governor Kildadi Tageke Bukar, who visited some government and private schools, expressed satisfaction with the determination of both students and the school authorities to respect the government measures against the coronavirus. Details with Rekiatu Miss Njingi from CRTV Adamawa.
Systematic checks of pupils, students and teachers at entrance of every school visited by the Adamawa governor in Gaundere on this first day of school depicts a new era of learning. At each stopover, he looked out for the sanitary measures put in place, washing of hands, mask wearing and social distancing, measures respected by school authorities to the latter.
Students are coming gradually, but all the personnel is ready to welcome them, and we have put in place all the measures asked by the government to preserve ourselves and our students to this pandemic of COVID-19. Collège de Masno is ready to renew with the school on this day of the 1st of June.
To contain the spread, at the Technical High School Maradok, apart from washing hands and wearing a face mask, students are given daily tickets after sanitary checks to serve as a pass to the classrooms. An innovative initiative lauded by the Adamawa governor.
All the schools we have visited this morning are very serene. We are very convinced that here all the schools are observing strictly the measures taken by the government. We do hope that they will maintain the cap.
The resumption of pupils and students sitting in for official examination in the Adamawa was coupled with the reception of anti-COVID-19 kits donated by UNICEF to fight COVID-19 in schools.
Over 80% of pupils and students expected to resume classes today, June 1, in the East region, turned out in their various institutions of learning adorned with their anti-COVID-19 armory. The assessment was made today in Bertua by Governor Gregoire Mvanga after an overall appraisal of the situation in the region. As our East regional correspondent Tala LT says, Governor Gregoire Mvanga also called on those still dragging their legs to catch up with this back-to-school resumption that is already off the station.
The few parents in the East region who refused to send their kids back to school this Monday, June 1st, will have themselves to blame as classes have effectively begun for students in Opsith, Terminal, Kumoyen 2 and Class 6. Governor Gregoire Mvongo, who was flanked by the regional delegates of basic and secondary education, visited some public and private primary, secondary and higher institutes of learning in Betwa. While in these schools, the governor was quick to notice that the kids answered present and lessons are going on hitch-free. The anti-COVID-19 guidelines prescribed by the government are strictly being applied by the school authorities.
What I saw is good. Everybody is wearing a mask. We have more than 80% of students present. We invite students who are still out of schools to come and attend classes.
This calm and serene atmosphere witnessed on day one, authorities hope will continue throughout this period of learning, especially with the progressive resumption for students in other examination classes.
Thanks for watching the 7:30 news on the Cameroon Radio Television. We are beaming live from Yaoundé. Education stakeholders in the West region have been enjoined to respect the barrier measures against COVID-19 as the main guarantee to a successful end of the 2019-2020 academic year. Governor Awa Fonka Augustine was speaking today in Bafoussam after visiting some schools in the Mifi division to appraise the resumption of classes in the region. Henry Ngu is in Bafoussam.
Effective teaching began on day one of the last term for final year pupils plus candidates of the 2020 baccalaureate and the GCA level examinations in the West region. The pupils, students and the teachers who all wore their face masks had their temperatures taken at the entrance to the institutions. Hand washing stations were on the campuses, while there were 24 students per classroom, but for a class at GBHS Bafoussam with 25. Governor Awa Fonka Augustine was in some of the institutions in Bafoussam.
The reopening for the third term has been effective. Of course, we registered a few errors here and there that we are very convinced will be redressed in the next few days.
The West Chief Executive has called on education stakeholders to put hands on deck and ensure a smooth end of the school year.
I'm requesting them to respect all the instructions that have been dished out by the government, and for the parents to accompany the children on a daily basis to help them work with government so that this academic year can end up hitch-free.
Reports from the 8 divisions of the West say the third term began hitch-free.
The education community in the chief town of the South region have respected the anti-COVID-19 measures on the first day of school's resumption. After visiting some primary and secondary schools in Ibolova, South Regional Governor Felix Ngele was very appreciative of the fresh start. We have Benn Atabon with details from CRTV South.
The governor of the South region went to schools in Ibolova to ensure that classes have effectively resumed in accordance with COVID-19 preventive measures. At the Lycée Classique, hand-washing stations were available on the day of school reopening. In this institution, which received face masks recently from an association, classes have resumed with 24 students in a classroom according to measures prescribed by the government. At GBHS Ibolova, students washed their hands and their temperatures were taken before they entered the school. Only students of Upper Sith and Terminal have showed up today in view of respecting social distancing. The Commander-in-Chief of the South, accompanied by administrative and education authorities, also went to primary schools where, like in secondary institutions, he was quite pleased with what he saw.
We saw every children, every student with face mask. We equally saw that in each school they have put buckets and all the means to wash hands. We have equally seen that children are seated in a special way that respect the social distanciation.
Governor Felix Ngele has urged authorities to make sure that schools in the South region continue to implement coronavirus barrier measures.
Students of the different institutions of learning in Kozua and Komotu in the Leke division of the Central region, like in all other rural localities of the region, witnessed effective start of classes this Monday. Our Central regional correspondent, Precious Tabo Adzayuf, who visited some of these schools, says while school authorities are tightening anti-COVID measures, the students are saying they will go beyond every other hard work to ensure that they end the school year successfully.
In both the government and private institutions of learning at Nkomtu and Kozwa, authorities say school resumption is very effective and all has been put in place to ensure corona-free environments for all.
Everything was very good for us, and we think that the school year is going on without COVID-19.
Have the thermal flash that we take the children's temperature, and then we have the buckets, the soap, detergent that has been put at the disposal to wash their hands before they get into classrooms. And we also have numbers that they use as their identification numbers.
Pupils and students are not only determined to stay safe but also come through with excellent results.
That we should wash our hands with running water, with soap, and wear a mask.
And no Cameroon will succeed the fight against the coronavirus. I will also part in my end of year exams.
Amongst the barrier measures is the closure of school canteens and the cautioning of learners not to share their food and didactic material with each other. The wish of all and sundry is that the measures will be respected to the letter and that all will go on hitch-free till the end of the year.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
And you are still on the 7:30 news. In Ayos, in the Nyong and Fumo division, schools have resumed for examination classes with a turnout rate estimated at over 75%. Despite today's heavy downpour, the students and pupils answered present in their various schools, respecting prevention measures against the COVID-19. The local elite and the divisional officer for Ayers visited the schools to appraise the effectiveness of back to school. Emmanuela Vermue was there and now reports.
She has braved the heavy rains to be the first student at GBH's Ayos campus.
I was very happy and eager to come to school because we have overstayed in the house. If teachers are there, we will do revision together because there are some difficulties that we are facing, and teachers are the ones to give us the solution.
The June 1 rendezvous has been respected in schools in this area as 75% in strict respect of preventive measures against COVID-19 pandemic.
We have drawn out the timetable in a way that considers the present stakes. We are ready to produce results.
Local elites and administrative officials are on the field too. They want to be sure classes are effective and that the pandemic is under check.
We wanted to be sure students, pupils and teachers are present and that they are respecting prescribed measures. We will continue in the days ahead to evaluate what should be ameliorated.
In Ayos, students, pupils and teachers are all on the front for a successful school year amid COVID-19 spread.
The elite of the seaside resort town of Kribi have donated a consignment of anti-COVID-19 kits to the local population to protect themselves from the pandemic. Led by Senator Gregoire Mbamba, they say it is in the footsteps of the head of state, President Paul Biya, that they offered protective face masks, soap, hand-washing kits and sanitizers. Serene Wazeke reports from Kribi.
To accompany school children check the spread of the coronavirus in school campuses in Kribi, members of the elites of the town, headed by Senator Gregoire Mbamba, visited all the public and some private primary and secondary schools in the town of Kribi, offering face masks, buckets, cartons of soap, as well as thermoflashes for temperature.
We, the elites of Kribi, have taken the initiative to follow the steps of the head of state so as to keep our children free from the COVID-19. They are leaders of tomorrow, and our duty is to watch over them.
At each stop, the elite encourage the teachers to be firm and make sure all students respect the wearing of face masks, washing of hands and social distancing so as to curb the spread of the virus. All heads of the schools visited hailed this initiative by the elite of the town and promised to use them judiciously so as to protect the children from the virus.
I am so happy this morning to receive the elected of Kribi in our school with these gifts. And I think these gifts will go a long way, helping us to fight against the COVID-19.
We are very happy. These gifts will help us train the children in safety because they will be protected from the coronavirus.
It was also an occasion for the elites to check on the effectiveness of school resumption in the town.
The senator for Kupe Maniguba, Ntube Agnes Njok, has donated foodstuff and items to stop the spread of the COVID-19 in Bangem and other neighboring villages. The exercise was coordinated by the YCPDM president in Bangem, who echoed the senator's wish to encourage all the youth to come back home. Details with Romeo Nkenye.
Protective face mask, cartons of soap, mobile hand washing kits and hydroalcoholic solutions offered to women in Bangem in the southwest region. The largest is that of Senator Agnes Ntubenjok. The items are meant to contain the spread of the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic in the locality.
You have hand sanitizer, you have buckets, you have granite oil. The people who are living in Melong and Kongsamba, they are already back in Bangem.
The member of the Upper House of Parliament has also donated bags of rice to the women folk.
We are so very happy. We thank the Madame Las Ferasis for sending us these things, these gifts. That even us today, like her market, not everybody is able even to have what we have today.
While urging the population to meticulously use the sanitary kit, the senator used the opportunity to call on sons and daughters of Bangem still languishing in bushes to return home.
From the 1st of June 2015 to the 1st of June 2020, it's exactly 5 years that Mrs. Chantal Biya received her attributes as UNAIDS Special Ambassador in the fight against the spread of the HIV/AIDS virus. It was a historic event that resulted from years of hard work and her personal commitment, of the First Lady to collaborate with the government and other stakeholders to reduce the AIDS virus, especially the mother-to-child transmission. Staff Lady Enanga Kebi now takes us down memory lane on the First Lady's activities since becoming UNAIDS Special Ambassador.
It was on the 1st of June 2015 at the Unity Palace that Mrs. Chantal Biya received her attributes as UNAIDS Special Ambassador in the fight against the spread of the AIDS pandemic. It was a solemn yet particular event that was witnessed by the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya. The presence of the head of state during the occasion reaffirmed his support for the First Lady's crusade against the AIDS pandemic in Cameroon. According to Michel Sidibe, the executive director of UNAIDS, who was in Cameroon for a working visit, Mrs. Chantal Biya is a champion in the AIDS battle, precisely in the reduction of the mother-to-child transmission in Africa. Through Mrs. Chantal Biya's initiative, the Pan-African Association of African First Ladies, dubbed African Synergy, was created in 2002.
In the year 2000, the concern for the fight against HIV was very prevailing, very predominant. The First Lady of Cameroon could not remain untouched, and then she convened her colleagues.
Concerned with the reduction of the mother-to-child transmission of the virus, the health experts of the association succeeded to conduct training sessions in 6 African countries, namely Mali, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Guinea, Niger, and Cameroon. The synergy of action of the African First Ladies led also to the mobilization of international scientists and researchers, and the fruit of it all was the creation of the Chantal Biya International Research Center for the fight against AIDS and hardship in Africa. The center was inaugurated on the 23rd of February 2006.
We have closely worked with Synergies Africaines in the past decade, and we've seen them through their journey from 2002 until now, and all the work that they have done to try to give voice to the voiceless, to try to bring to the fore the suffering of women and children, not only in their respective countries, but also all over Africa.
Mrs. Chantal Biya's humanitarian crusade in the domains of education and other social services earned her the recognition as UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador for Education and Social Inclusion. This was on the 14th of November 2008 at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris. Cameroon's First Lady, Mrs. Chantal Biya, remains Africa's social star in the fight against the spread of diseases, hardship, and equally, she is the #1 promoter of education at the base and social inclusion, a voluntary commitment that she has been involved in with passion and determination for more than 2 decades.
And that's where we'll leave it for this evening. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.